You're listening to Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall on CJAD 800.
That is James MENNIE. He's over at the Montreal Gazette. And James, let's deal with story number one today.
Do you want to explain that to him at least? It's because we asked people earlier what bugs them, like just in their day-to-day lives, things that people do that drive them nuts. And we got a very specific complaint that one person does not like that Aaron introduces you as James MENNIE and then addresses you personally as Jim. That bugs them, Jim.
Really?
Yeah. Does it bug you?
Yeah.
No.
Well, then how about that?
No, I've always said, because, it was my byline at the Gazette, and I've always said that's my stage name. So it's you have, the first reference, it's James, and after that, just don't call me Jimmy.
Okay. Mr. MENNIE, let's get to the stories in the news today.
Yes, sir.
Starting with this idea of a third term for François Legault, who says, hey, I feel great. Everything is good. I'm going to run again. Surprised?
Yeah, because he's been very coy about that, about seeking another term. He says, well, if the people want me and, if I feel good. He was quite categorical, and it's so funny because this story he occurred more or less, it broke more or less at the same time. He was, he had a snowblower full of money, and he was shooting it at North Pole. So they kind of passed on the radar. But in this story, as in every other, the fundamental question is why? Why 3 years? I mean, a lot can happen in 3 years. But why would you want to make it clear that you're hanging around for another 4? And the only thing that I can figure out is that perhaps François Legault, who is the head of a party that likes to poll everything, is seeing a little more in the tea leaves than the slight drop that we've seen in the last few polls. And I think maybe, and let's face it, this is the open secret. There is no Coalition Avenir Québec. There is François Legault and the people who work for François Legault. That's the thing. Without him, there's no party. There is no clear Dauphin or Dauphine in the caucus right now, nor is there likely to be, because he's got this selection of 90 people. But listen, we're in basically year 5 of a CAQ government, and I can't really think. There are some people who have distinguished themselves in various situations, but I can't think of, say, I know Geneviève Guilbeault, last I heard, is the deputy premier, but I don't really see anybody there who's actually, in reality, the deputy premier, the second in command, which I think is a post that's quite alien to the likes of François Legault. So, I mean, he could be trying to reassure those supporters that he has that he's going to be around, and yes, you should vote for us. Who knows? He may be sending a message to a caucus which, as I said, it's pretty big. A lot of newbies there. Watch your step, because I am going to be around. This is not and I certainly don't want to see anybody with knives out in the last year of our mandate, trying to get the leadership. I'm keeping the leadership, and that's all there is to it. But as I say, the timing is very interesting. I don't think it came out of the blue. Nothing François Legault does is out of the blue. So I suspect that he wants to send a message that, if nothing else, it's going to be the same old, same old. That's probably going to be their slogan in the next election. This year's election, or last year's election, was, let's continue. And, who knows, maybe it'll just be more of the same. That'll be their slogan for the next
What
election.
A great slogan. More of the same.
More of the same.
I love it.
I like same old
Yeah,
better.
Also good.
Personally.
Does this mean, so when we used to speculate, Jim, Pierre Fitzgibbon, kind of, maybe sizing up the job. I know Eric Girard's name has been mentioned as well.
Yeah.
That's all off the board now?
I think it is. Christian Dubé has been, insofar as he's been able to do anything with that crazy Ministry of Health. He's been on the hot seat for a long time, and I really don't see him hanging around. Honestly, I don't think Fitzgibbon's going to hang around either. But the thing is, for François Legault, without him, everything around him. Without him, it's gone. It's a puff of smoke. And it's going to be very, very difficult to sell a CAQ without François Legault. So I think he looked at what's happening now in terms of their poll numbers and what could happen on Monday, and he said, I better reassure people that there's not going to be any change. I'm still going to be around, and no matter what happens, it's not François Legault.
Now, you don't see Geneviève Guilbeault as potential premier material, though?
No, that's the same Geneviève Guilbeault who said that if you see someone in violation of Bill 21, call the police. That Genevieve Guilbeault?
The one who doesn't wear his
Who wears
seatbelt.
seatbelt in the car, yeah. Maybe not. Okay. I'd heard Eric Girard because, I think we were talking about a week or so ago, right? Eric Girard, Francois Legault, apparently, I don't want to say diametrically opposed Jim, but in terms of, finances going forward. So there was a thought perhaps maybe he would. I don't know, maybe not now.
Be careful with Eric Girard because in 2025 there's a federal election. This guy ran for the Tories last time.
Okay. Forgot about that. I completely forgot.
And right now they've got a much better shot in Quebec than they did even 6 months ago.
Okay.
Right,
listen, I would be remiss. I just want to bring up, because we didn't even mention this at all, but we should. So the story. Sue Montgomery won her suit against the mayor, against the city of Montreal. She's going to join us. We talked to her earlier this afternoon. We're going to play that back at about 5:30. I want to get your reaction to that story.
Well, I mean, a lot of ink and a lot of money. Honestly, I mean, I worked with Sue for years. I hope this has ended well for her, and I hope this is the end of this particular travail. I look at a figure like $300,000, but how much did they spend paying those double bonuses to managers? That the story La Presse broke yesterday. That all the managers, the 1,800 managers for the city of Montreal, received a second bonus. And depending on who you talk to, the explanation gets different every time. And the mayor says it was because their bonus was suspended in 2020 because of the pandemic, and it's now being repaid. The head of the executive committee says that, it's to retain personnel.
So hard to find.
And meanwhile, the union's heads are exploding. Yeah. But this is it. I mean, whether it's Sue or whether it's this, the city of Montreal keeps finding new ways to funnel taxpayers' money into things that perhaps they should be funneling it into. But there you go.
I'll just give listeners a head up that it was a very emotional interview, and I think Aaron and I hadn't quite seen that coming. We thought, Sue's a feisty person, and we thought she would be kind of basking in the glory of this win. She was very wistful and quite emotional about everything that she's been through. So people, you'll want to tune in at 5:35.
It's been my experience, and I have interviewed a few, that when the first thing soldiers do when a very long war is over is cry.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it has been a war for her. It's taken 4 years to get to this point.
Absolutely.
Again, 5:30, you'll be able to hear that interview with Sue Montgomery coming up then. Jim, I know the last thing on your sheet, right? We want to bring up Jean Talon.
By-election, yeah. The by-election is happening on Monday. What do you think is going to happen, and why does it matter so much?
Which is one day before the first anniversary of this second term for the CAQ. I think what's important is, they say it's between the PQ and the CAQ. I think it's more about the margin of defeat suffered by the other parties. If this is a close race between the PQ and the CAQ, and if it's a matter of a few hundred votes, you can't turn around and say, aha, this is the message the voters have sent. But it'll be interesting to see specifically for Quebec Solidaire how they do, because I think we've kind of been overlooking them, but they almost seem to be using the same, how can I put it, political advisors, the same political philosophy as Quebec Liberals, that if they keep this up, they'll be completely invisible by the end of the year. But all that said, it's going to be for me, those are the numbers I can find very, very intriguing on Monday.
We shall all be paying attention to see how that plays out. Jim, have a great weekend. Oh, I said it. Sorry. James, have a great weekend.
Wait before you go.
You too, Natasha.
Let me read. You too. Let me read this though before you go. So we just got a text from Bill that says, "Aaron, I love the way you say James and then call him Jim. James is his formal name, and you call him Jim because you're friendly with him. It's very wholesome. Don't listen to the haters. They always find something to complain about."
The haters. The name haters. Thank you, Jim.
Haters.